It's grades day here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter. We're going to go over the good, the bad, and the ugly of the Steelers win over the Falcons. Stars and skulls time, but we got to break down what's actually going down with Kenny Pickett and his wide receivers. George Pickens seemed very frustrated on the field, didn't talk to media after the game. Diontae Johnson had another rough performance. We're going to get the thoughts of Alan Saunders, who was there in Atlanta for the Steelers win, on how that situation is playing out and how the Steelers might handle it moving forward. All that and the grades today on the Tuesday edition of the Locked On Steelers podcast. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Steelers, your daily Pittsburgh Steelers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome to the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter, bringing you your daily dose of all things in the Pittsburgh Steelers. As always, you can find the show on Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Odyssey, and YouTube. If you're watching this video on YouTube, hit the like button on the video if you enjoy our show. Hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel to get all of our daily Monday through Friday episodes, as well as our bonus content. We thank you for making the Locked On Steelers podcast your first listen every day, because we're your team every day. As I said before, joining us again, recurring guest, Alan Saunders of SteelersNow.com, the Pittsburgh Now Group. What is up, Alan? How you doing?
What's going on? I'm good.
Did you get any sleep after getting back from Atlanta?
I got 3 hours last night and then snuck like an hour or two on the couch this afternoon. I'm doing good. You know,
for those
football writer stuff.
For those who do not know, for the uninitiated, Alan Saunders is the master of covering 5 sports at once and never sleeping and still finding. This man drove through a snowstorm after a Pitt basketball game to cover a Steelers game, and I was just like, why? But he finds a way to do it. That's why you better check out all his work at SteelersNow.com and Pittsburgh Sports Now and their whole network. Alan, I got to talk to you about the passing game. We saw the tight ends flare up. Really good game from Pat Freiermuth, touchdown catch from Connor Heyward. Good performances there. That group seems to be getting in sync with Kenny Pickett. The wide receiver room, though, bit of a mess. Granted, Chase Claypool's gone, and he's struggling with the Bears and all that whole situation. But Diontae Johnson with another drop in this game, maybe 2 drops if you really wanted to categorize it that way. One that could have been ruled a fumble. It was eventually overturned and given back to the Steelers. George Pickens, of course, 2 targets in the game, and then seen visibly frustrated during it, basically saying, "Get me the ball," in more or less words. But there's a lot of frustration going around with that group and Kenny Pickett. At first, it was that he was getting the ball to George Pickens too much, and then not enough to Diontae Johnson, and then Diontae Johnson wasn't taking advantage of his opportunities. What is your readout as far as how to fix that quarterback wide receiver situation in Pittsburgh?
Well, I think Diontae Johnson needs to be the leader here, because he's the guy that understands what's happening. Right. I mean, when he wasn't getting the ball, he might have been frustrated. There may have been some hands. There may have been some hey, I was open. But you didn't hear him saying, I need the ball more. All right. He understands what's happening. And what's happening is you have a rookie quarterback that in his first 4 games turned the ball over 9 times. Okay. And was one of the major factors in the Steelers losing several of those games. Right.
Yep.
In the last 4 games, Kenny Pickett hasn't thrown an interception. He's being smarter with the football. Okay. He's being deliberate with the football. And he's a rookie. Reading NFL defenses is very different than reading college defenses. One of the things that Matt Canada can do, that Kenny Pickett can do, that offense can do to make life easier on Kenny is he can take a pre-snap read and see where the defense is trying to take away from him. Are they doubling Diontae Johnson? Are they doubling George Pickens? Is there bail coverage where he's just not going to be able to beat a guy deep no matter what? And Kenny can just look the other way. He can look at the pre-snap read and say, that's going to be a low percentage pass to George no matter what happens. I'm going to turn my head over here and see what else. A lot of the Steelers' concepts are zone beaters on one side and man beaters on the other. That's kind of dumb if you have Tom Brady, okay? But if you have a rookie quarterback, you're just making life easy for him. It also means that sometimes one wide receiver is not going to get the ball for long stretches. Diontae Johnson knows that. He said that. He needs to be the one to get that to George Pickens and to not make this an issue for Kenny Pickett so that they can keep moving forward without Pickett feeling like he has to force things and then reintroduce those turnovers.
Is this an issue for Kenny Pickett? Do you think that him and George Pickens coming in as rookies, George Pickens being a major presence from Georgia, they know his playmaking ability. Is this an issue where you think that Kenny Pickett's going to feel kind of some pushback and be like, oh, man, I got to change up what I'm doing right now? Or do you think he stays the course that's like, look, I need to do whatever I need to do to get wins. And if it means not getting the ball at George sometimes, so be it.
Well, I think that needs to be Pickett's outlook. And I think the person that's capable of fixing this is Matt Canada, right? He's got to find some ways to, just like he did. Remember, we had a whole week of discussion about why aren't they getting Diontae the ball? Why aren't they getting Diontae the ball? Then he caught 3 passes on the first drive. I guarantee you that wasn't an accident, right? They schemed up some stuff to get Diontae Johnson open, no matter what the coverage was, and then they did it. They can do the same thing with George Pickens. It's a little bit more difficult, right? Because Pickens isn't as versatile of a receiver. He doesn't have the route tree that Johnson does. There's only so many ways he can get open. He's not gonna, run slants for you. He's not gonna run those whip routes or 7 routes and just be the sort of underneath dominant guy. He's a downfield threat, and those passes are going to come with risk. And it's risk that the Steelers are, I think, rightfully staying away from. What they're doing has been working. They won 2 games in a row. There's some ways they can get him the ball, but I don't think Kenny Pickett needs to be the one to be making big changes to what he's doing right now. I think things are moving steadily in the right direction for him, and that needs to continue.
I agree with that. If you're the Steelers, the way I see the George Pickens situation, is it a problem that he's complaining? Yeah, sure. And you saw Cam Heyward, kind of talking to him on the sideline there during the game. But at the same time, I also feel like this is very manageable. Like, you want receivers who want the football. Antonio Brown, before he was superstar Antonio Brown, wanted the football. And when they got him the football, they realized, oh, that's a main facet of the offense that we could just be using every day. And then it became the best 6-year run of an NFL wide receiver in the history of the game. But, I look at George Pickens and I see, like, some people complaining about his demeanor. I think sometimes on the field, he could contain it a little bit better. But I'm okay with him saying, throw me the ball, man. I want to be a playmaker. I think that there's a time and a place, and especially for a rookie, I kind of be like, you know what, I can deal with this, because I feel like the Steelers have the leadership in place and the organizational integrity to be like, you know what, everyone knows that we're not going to just bow to this rookie. We are going to try to work him in because he's good. You'll want him to succeed. But I'm not as bothered by him calling for the ball as much as he is. The only thing I'd say is, like, when you're on the field, kind of lessen the frustration out there, because that's when you need to kind of be staying focused on just accomplishing the mission to get the win.
I'll use Mike Tomlin's words. I'd rather say woe than sick 'em.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
That's it. Like I want him to want the ball. I'm glad he's mad that he's not getting the ball.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. Can he find a more constructive way to channel that anger? Sure. But it's not a big deal. Get him the ball. And don't make it an issue for your rookie quarterback. That's to me. I don't care if George Pickens wants to go over to the wide receiver bench, throw his helmet, flip a cooler over. To me, that's better than him going and getting in Kenny's ear and then screwing up the whole offense. That's just him venting. It looks bad, but ultimately that's not hurting anyone else. I don't really have a problem with it at all. I mean, I'm sure the Steelers would really like him to not have slow-mo F words, out
there on CBS.
It doesn't bother me any. I've heard it. I'm not offended. I'm sure somewhere in branding is this is going to cost you. Betty Crocker's gone, from the endorsement profile. But whatever. I think it doesn't bother. That doesn't bother me.
I hear you on that. We'll see how the Steelers progress moving forward. Mike Tomlin will speak noon on Tuesday as well, so we'll be going to hear with that. We'll see if he talks about that as all. By the way, don't talk to Mike Tomlin while he's working if you haven't seen that video, by the way. That was a great video. I don't care. Just look up Mike Tomlin working. If you haven't seen it on Twitter, it's fantastic. Anyways, we got to keep working because we got grades coming up. Stars and Skulls. Alan's going to see my grades and then give his reactions to my grades in a minute here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. But first, we got to talk to you guys about LinkedIn, and y'all know about LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the number one place that people go to find jobs. So if you're an employer looking for employees, it's the number one place to go find them. With every new potential hire, it can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. You need to find the right people on your team to help your small business fire in all cylinders. LinkedIn Jobs is here to make it easier to find people that you want to talk to faster and for free. You can create a free job post in minutes on LinkedIn Jobs to reach your network and beyond to the world's largest professional network of people over 810 million people. Then you just add your job and the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile, and that'll spread the word that you're hiring so your network can help you find the right people to hire. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs number one in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the candidates you want to talk to faster. Did you know every week nearly 40 million job seekers visit LinkedIn? Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnfl to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Back here on the Locked On Steelers podcast, I'm your host, Chris Carter, here with Alan Saunders of SteelersNow.com. You can check out all his work at SteelersNow.com with the entire team that they've got there. They've got a good team there. Heck, I used to be part of that team, so proud to see you guys striving and doing well. But let's get into the grades segment. Now, if you're new to the show, I'll bring up the rubric for those who are familiar with the show. We're going to go for it just so y'all remember. Steelers grades, we have stars and skulls. We're not doing A, B, C, Ds, none of that. We want to make sure that we're doing something unique here. So we're using basically like how decals used to be used on helmets. Stars, good plays. Skulls, bad plays. Stars, if you get 1 star, you get a good play, like a decent day. 2 stars, you get a great play to go along with a good day. And then 3 stars means elite performance, like this goes into your all-pro resume. In reverse, 1 skull means you had a bad play, but not like a terrible day, just didn't redeem your bad play. 2 skulls means you had a bad game as a whole. 3 skulls, all-time terrible, put them on the bench. You didn't have anything redeemable about your game. That being said, let's start with the worst of the worst, because one of the players that we just talked about is on that list for me, and that's Diontae Johnson with 2 skulls. There's no 3 skull guys in this game, and I was on the path to give Diontae Johnson 3 skulls, but he did an important catch on the Steelers' final drive that got them a first down. He had some other catches in the game where he at least provided something, and I thought that those were important moments for the Steelers this week. And so I was like, well, I can't give him 3 skulls, but still there was a deep ball that I felt that he should have hauled in, Allen, that was thrown in his vicinity, and he could have gotten his hands up, but he kind of alligator armed it. And then there was a pass that he caught that he should have caught over the middle that would have gone for at least a first down, maybe a touchdown. And then another pass where it was ruled an incomplete pass, but it was originally ruled a fumble. There's so many moments that if you're wide receiver 1, you need to find a way to make that play, especially with the money they're paying.
Yeah, I didn't really think any of them other than the one that was called a fumble were like egregious drops. The one in the back of the end zone, I thought he made a nice play to clear the DB's hands. And then he just kind of hung in the air, like waiting for the ball there a little bit. I didn't really think any of those drops were heinous by Diontae Johnson, but I need him to make a play. I just like
he still doesn't have a touchdown.
I don't feel like any of those are just like, oh, that's a horrible drop. Like if I'm charting for like PFF or whatever, like in my standard is a drop is a ball that an average receiver catches 90% of the time. I don't think any of those are that. Right. But I need him to make a play. It didn't have to be all of them. Any one of them probably would have been good by me. It's not like they were easy catches. They were not in the right spot. The timing was off on 2 of them. Just make a play. And I think it all goes away. And he did that at the very end of the game on that 3rd down. or to get a first down. I think it was on second down, actually. But they just need more of that from Diontae Johnson. It's very frustrating for a rookie quarterback that is going through it when it comes to reading defenses to find the open guy and then put the ball on him and then not make a play, right? Like, that's already a struggle right now. He's got to make a couple of them, and I think he's able to. You know, if it was Steven Sims doing that, I think I would just say, well, look, you know, guys, just okay. Diontae Johnson,
okay, that's fair.
Ability and is making the money that he's got to come down with a couple of those.
I agree with you there. My other two skull guys, defensive line guys, Montravius Adams and Tyson Alualu. Granted, Tyson Alualu didn't play a ton in this game, but he played enough where I thought he should have been better against the run. The defense in front of the Steelers got blown apart and blown off the ball a lot. And there's more of those guys in the one skull group as well. But I do think it's making it even more loud and clear, Alan. This team needs to invest in the interior defensive line on top of a lot of other things they need to invest in the coming offseason. But they need new, fresh, young blood that's going to be young, physical, or even veterans that are just physical and consistently there who can control the middle of the line of scrimmage.
Well, I think, you know, it's interesting because their base defense has been so minimized over the last 10 years. Like, they really barely play it. And so they haven't invested in guys that fit that nose tackle position for that group, right? And Tyson Alualu is a defensive end. Like, he played out of position at nose tackle for a while. Came back from this injury. I think those days are over. Like, it's not working. Okay? Yeah. It's just not. If they want to use him as the rotational tackle, you know, the fourth guy in line behind Heyward and Larry and Wormley, that's fine. He's not a nose tackle anymore. It's over. And they don't really have anyone on the roster that looks like a nose tackle. I mean, they just don't. And it seems like, to me anyway, and maybe this is just my perception, I haven't put a lot of math to this, but that the run pass shift is coming back to the middle in the NFL a little bit.
I agree.
I think they need a nose tackle. They need a guy that is a nose tackle, not just one that's going to play between two defensive ends, and we're going to call him that. They don't have one right now, and I think it showed in this game.
I think it is too. Going on to the one skull guys, I threw Larry Ogunjobi in the one skull category. He did have an impressive TFL in the game, and there were moments I thought he was better, but still, I felt like he wasn't doing enough in this game to where I know he could do better. Other guys I threw in here: Miles Jack, TJ Watt, and Terrell Edmonds. I know it sounds blasphemous to put TJ Watt in the skull category, but I felt like there were too many times, Alan, that he was getting blown up in the run game, and by just a tight end blocking him. It'd be different if, you know, a tackle and a tight end were blocking him and he was getting pushed back. That's okay. If a team is devoting just a tight end to blocking TJ Watt and winning, that is a problem, and that's why I gave him one skull there.
Yeah, I agree. I think, you know, TJ is obviously not 100%. But
and again, I totally get that, but it's one of those things where if he's going to be out there, they got to either find a way to protect him, or he has to find a way to be able to fight and win that spot. But I think obviously the problem is they don't have depth at outside linebacker.
Yeah, and they don't really have depth anywhere, and you know, on that front seven, I think that's a big part of the problem. I thought Jack and Ogunjobi were okay, just okay. Especially I see with Ogunjobi, like, it just doesn't seem like he's got the legs. He's out of the game a lot. And on those drives where, you know, what happens is, it's like, if he doesn't make a play on first down, then they start running the ball second, third down, then he's out of the game. Now it's a backup. Now they're running even more. Like, it's not it wasn't very consistent. I think that's the big thing there. Honestly, I think you're a little friendly. I probably could have found some more skulls to give out. How about Steven Sims? Dropped a punt.
You know, I thought about that. I went back and forth because he had a couple good jet sweep runs. But that was admittedly, I kind of didn't care too much about Steven Sims in my grades. I was like, I'm gonna look at other guys. Like, I think that was my fault. I agree. And retroactively, he will get a skull for this game because he dropped a couple passes and fumbled a punt. That is not enough to make up for the two jet sweeps was not enough for him to make up for that. I agree with that as well.
Yeah.
I was gonna say we're gonna move to stars in just a minute because we have 1 3-star player and different guys on 1 stars and 2 stars. So don't go away from the Locked On Steelers podcast. We will have that coming at y'all very soon. But before we do any of that, we have to tell you guys about the new podcasts that are coming out on Audible, because today's episode is brought to you by Audible, because they're releasing a new slate of football podcasts that we're sure you're going to love, and that's why you'll be able to find a sneak peek of this on Block Forever, the new podcast from Ryan Khalil on Locked On NFL right now. Block Forever is a brand new podcast hosted by former NFL All-Pro lineman Ryan Khalil, and he gives you kids football fans an insider's look at the game through the eyes of the greatest players and personalities of all time. Khalil sits down with star players, coaches, former pros across the league to get real insight about what happens on the field and behind the scenes, inside the locker rooms, during team meetings, and back at the hotel. You'll hear from players like Christian McCaffrey about his love-hate relationship with fantasy football. Juju Smith-Schuster give his most honest opinions on other players and positions in the league, and so much more. New episodes of Block Forever will be recorded and released every week ahead of Thursday Night Football, so head on over to Locked On NFL to get a sneak peek of Block Forever, or catch the full series available anywhere that you get your podcast, because they're available right now. Audible, get in the game. Back here on the Locked On Steelers podcast, I'm Chris Carter here with Alan Saunders, who thinks I'm too lenient of a grader here. I get that I'm too harsh of a grader a lot of times. People are like, that was too many skulls. You can't be doing that. I'm sure I'm going to get some heat for giving TJ Watt a skull from this game. But let's go to our 1 skull guys. We're going to start from the lowest. Starting behind. I had a lot of 1 skull guys because I thought there were a lot of good role players in this game. I gave 1 to James Daniels. I thought he had a really good blitz pickup. And he had some decent run blocking. Cameron Sutton got some. I thought he was sticking with it in coverage a lot. They went after him a couple times, but it wasn't anything egregious. I thought he was consistent. Benny Snell ran hard again. I give him a star. Cam Heyward, the one guy on the defensive line, I thought made a difference. Arthur Marlette, only in there for like 6 plays, but made a play when he was in there. Presley Harvin with that important punt to pin him at the 1-yard line. I give him points for that. And other guys, I say Dan Moore Jr. I thought he didn't have a great game, but a decent enough game that he held in there. Derek Watt, simply because every time he touches the ball, he gets first downs. It's weird, but he does it. Chukuma Core for, even though he got hurt in the game. Connor Heyward for his touchdown run. And the unsung moment of the game for me, Alan, was when Malik Reed drew that holding call on what would have been a touchdown in the 4th quarter for the Falcons, but he did a good job establishing with his inside hand, keeping his outside arm free, and then it forced his man to have to go around and grab his other shoulder so he couldn't make a play. And when that happened, he threw his hand up in the air. The Steelers don't often get that call of holding, but he got it there, and it saved the drive and maybe even saved the game. Alan, what do you think of my 1-star guys here?
I think it's a pretty good list. I think I put the whole offensive line in that group. You have almost all of them there, right?
Almost all of them. We got more stars to give out.
Okay, yeah, I think I'd have about the whole offensive line there. Connor Heyward, I mean, it's hard to. He doesn't play that much, but that was a fantastic catch. I mean,
it was,
and really a difficult one, going down the seam that way to stay in the back. I think you're pretty spot on there, though. Yeah, I mean, I can't think of, maybe like it could have put Zach Gentry in there. I thought he did some good blocking things too. But I think that's a pretty solid list.
Moving along to our 2-star guys, and this is where I think it gets a little more interesting because there are some offensive linemen here. And including on the offensive line, I go Kevin Dotson and Mason Cole. I thought the interior did a really good job. I give Matthew Wright because he continues to be great at field goals, and I thought he put kickoffs in the right spots to help fight Cordero Patterson out of this game. Really good job for him. My other 2-star guys, though, Kenny Pickett, Najee Harris, Pat Freiermuth, the holy trinity of the offense lately. But I did this because I felt like Kenny Pickett was efficient in this game. Still not great, but he's doing really well for a rookie the past couple weeks. He deserves points for that. Also, Najee Harris, he was running angry and poised, and it seems like he has found what he was doing last year a lot as well. What did you think about some of the guys on offense? Because those are all offense and 1 special teamer. What did you think of those guys and what they contributed on Sunday?
I don't think I could put Dot that high. He had 2 false starts.
He did. I just felt he was so good in the run game. Yeah.
I like Cole being the guy of that offensive line that kind of gets the bump over everyone else. You saw that kind of free edge rusher thing against the Colts that cleaned that up. I thought they were better at sliding. That's the center's job to communicate that stuff. Najee Harris was incredible. I think like that might be the best I've ever seen him run. It wasn't like statistically dominant, but he was getting hit at the line of scrimmage on every single play, and he was just making yards. I thought he was awesome. Matthew Wright was outstanding. 4 field goals, 2 of them fairly long, and then all the kickoffs. We didn't even remember Cordell Patterson was there until the third quarter. I thought he was awesome, and I think that was Kenny Pickett's best game. It wasn't.
I'd agree.
Flashy. It was just what he needs to be, and I thought he was really, really solid. He did not do anything crazy to make that a win for the Steelers, but he let the team win with him as a part of it.
No, I agree with that. I mean, like, there's a couple passes you'd like to have back. Like, there was the one pass to Pat Freiermuth that sailed over his guy. But, I mean, there were also so many plays that were left out there. You know, Diontae Johnson, the shallow cross over the middle that if he finds a way to haul in, it's a big play. Steven Sims, the low pass that he could have brought in, the pass on the sidelines where he went out of bounds. I think about it. I need to give Steven Sims a skull. But in all seriousness, right. But in all seriousness, but no, it's. I think it's fair. I was just overlooking his contributions or lack of contributions in that situation. But like, there were so many plays that I think he put the Steelers in position to make that they didn't come down with. That I felt like if they had done, like if Diontae Johnson did have a game that would have been worthy of 2 stars, the Steelers win this game going away because they score more touchdowns early. I think it puts a lot more pressure on the Falcons to have to throw the ball late, and then they don't run the ball down the Steelers' throats because Marcus Mariota has to take to the air because they got to preserve clock more late in the game. So all in all, I felt like that, but I agree with you. I think this was Najee Harris's best like tape game, if you will, what he was able to do there. And I feel like he has found the rhythm of when to trust his offensive lineman, because I think that was a big part of the problem was he didn't know when to trust certain gaps with certain guys, and now he understands. Hey, you know what? If this guy goes this way, I'm coming off his left butt cheek. If this guy goes this way, I'm trusting him. Or if these guys double team, I know they're going to handle that matchup and they're going to chip to the backer, and I can get to this guy. Those things seem much more apparent now, and it was something that I was saying for a while, and I think you were saying as well. It takes time with a rookie quarterback, a brand new offensive line that's makeshift, doesn't have any stalwart players on it, any first rounders or big money guys, and a running back that's in his second year. It was going to take time, and I think we're seeing it take time. Also, I think it's a shout out to people that were trying to call for Pat Meyer's head at the beginning of the season, like it wasn't going to be a project to get there, and he's doing a pretty good job.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they're great.
No.
Yet. Like, the Falcons' offensive line, way better at run blocking.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Like, you saw the holes that Algier and Patterson had to run through. It was truck lanes. And Harris is like, oh, bang, bang. Oh,
right, like he's ducking through guys to get 5 yards.
Yeah. But I think the Steelers are they're doing a better job of, actually, it's funny. We were talking on Twitter last night about the Seattle Seahawks and what they've done this season. Like, I saw the Seahawks in the preseason, and I thought that might be the least talented team in the NFL. Like, they have no star players. DK Metcalf,
I agree with that. Yeah,
physically impressive, but he's not yet a star receiver in this league. Might not ever be. Okay, they have no star players, none, zero. What is a Seahawk going to the Pro Bowl?
No,
probably not. They're winning without elite talent because they're playing together. They have good scheme. They're minimizing their weaknesses and maximizing their strengths. I think you're seeing these Steelers get closer to that now. We're like, hey, they're not good, and there's lots to nitpick about. Like, absolutely. I can sit here and throw darts at any player on that team's game and find plenty of holes in it. But you know what? They're working together, and it's getting better, and I think that's really all you can ask for.
I agree with that. Our final award of the evening is, of course, the 3-star award. This doesn't go out every week. We're giving it to one guy. Alan, I'm pretty sure you can guess who it is. You got to guess for me.
I got to guess. Well, I think it's the guy that won the game.
You agree with you're a smart man. You're a smart man. It's Minkah Fitzpatrick. A couple weeks ago, or was it last week? No, it was 3 weeks ago. It was when they beat the Saints. I had Wes Euler on here, and the 3 stars were the Pigeons because they came out and saved the Steelers. But this week we do have a real 3-star guy, and it is Minkah Fitzpatrick. I mean, it's not just the interception at the end of the game. He had a really impressive tackle during the game. He's just such a consistent presence. The Falcons wanted to take some deep shots in this game. They wanted to give it to Drake London and Damiere Byrd and make some easier drives for them and not have to rely on their ground game all the time. And Minkah Fitzpatrick, when he's in there so often, he just makes that not the case. He did that in this game, and then you get the coup de grace of the interception on to end the game, and then to run out of bounds and to not take the easy points of running into the end zone. I thought was a heads up play. He continues to be what I think is the MVP of this team.
I agree. You look at this Falcons passing, Drake London, 6 catches for 95 yards. Okay, Drake London, obligate outside guy, right?
Yep.
Not part of Minkah Fitzpatrick's sphere. That's just the corners, okay, right? Everyone else, 7 catches for 72 yards. The
combined.
whole rest of the team had
That's 6 other guys, by the way.
Yards.
Jeez.
That
says a lot. That says a lot right there.
Middle of the defense. That's what that is.
Don't throw here.
Yeah.
I agree with you. But again, that's what he does. He makes it easy. It makes it so that the Steelers can survive without top-tier corner play. Now, if they want to be a serious contender moving forward, I think they need better corners. And you and I have talked about that during the offseason. They need to go and get themselves some real cornerback 1 type of guys that can live on islands and take away top receivers like Jamar Chase. But you also can't always get that. This year they were kind of focused on trying to fix some other things. Next year, I'll be really intrigued to see if they go and get that guy. But right now, Minkah Fitzpatrick, he against teams like the Colts, like the Falcons, that he's been able to make it not matter as much. And then also he's able to close out games. It also seems like he has a weird nose for the football. There's so many times, like the Ravens game 2 years ago.
Too. I've felt that interception coming for like 3 weeks now, where he was just like a hair short of making that exact play several times. And then, I don't know, like you said, like he's got this thing where it's like, oh, this is the biggest moment of the game. All right,
I'm going to make it.
This will be what I break through and do it.
That's what great players do. And it's a weird, intangible, like there's no PFF stat for that. There's no thing, there's no number for that. It's just Troy Polamalu had it. And I'm not saying he is Troy Polamalu or on that level yet, but he makes those types of plays so many times for the Steelers, and he did it again Sunday. I give him a 3-star award there. So there you have it. Stars and Skulls, another week of grades in the books. I got to retroactively give Steven Sims one. I'll do that in my grades here because Alan Saunders is such a harsh grader. He brought the red pen out on these guys. But absolutely, Alan, thanks so much for joining me here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. It's always a lot of fun to have you here. Let people know they can find you, follow you, and get more of your work.
Yeah, SteelersNow.com for all the Steelers stuff. You can check out the whole network of sites too. Pittsburgh Sports Now, covering West Virginia and Penn State and the Pirates and the Penguins and all kinds of good stuff. At Twitter, @SaundersPGH, and I don't know. That's it, I guess.
Absolutely. He's everywhere. So do check him out. Alan Saunders. He is the man. I'm Chris Carter. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram @CarterCritiques. You can find me on this show Monday through Friday, hosting the Locked On Steelers podcast on Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Odyssey, and YouTube. Like the show if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to this YouTube channel to get all of our daily Monday through Friday episodes. Thanks so much for checking us out again. You can also find my work at the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Thanks so much again for everyone for tuning in. I'll be back Wednesday with more on your Pittsburgh Steelers right here on the Locked On Steelers podcast.